do not credit people for an intelligence they do not possess, because a title, letters after your name, whatever it is, does not actually endow you with intelligence. So do not assume it is there.
Good people, welcome to another episode of Unlearning Strongwoman. I am your host, Tolu Agbelusi, and my guest today is the illustrious Samenua Sesher. She is a writer, coach, culture management consultant, of course, art form producer, founder, and director of Museum of Color, which is a digital museum celebrating the achievements of people of color in film, television, and the arts in the UK, specifically, I think. I first met Samenua, I don't know, 8, maybe 9 years ago, something like that, when you were appointed as a coach on Stage 1, which was the very first cohort of a producer fellowship thing. And I was slightly, what's the word? Apprehensive. I remember because I was like, I don't know this coaching thing. But she's here, so clearly it was good. And I'm glad that we crossed paths again this year in Sheffield at the Utopia thing, and that you're here now, because I'm looking forward to this conversation. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I always start in the same place, which is, what is a strong woman to you?
Yeah, you may have to stop me on this one. A strong woman to me is somebody who is able to show up in the world as she is, and unapologetically so.
Mm-hmm.
And I say unapologetically so with the principle of do no harm. So as long as you do no harm, you show up as you. Show up as you. And sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe a lot of people talk about authenticity now. You know how we go through these word phases. It's
tiring. Yes.
And I don't know what the authentic self is, because I think the true self often changes, and, you know, life happens, and we bow and we flex and we move. But I think the ability to show up in a multitude of spaces as yourself is harder than it sounds. And it's wonderful when you feel that you're in the presence of somebody who is doing that. That's real strength.
If you could, and I'm sure you know plenty, but if you could name one person who epitomizes your vision of strength, or one of your visions of strength, and why, just in the spirit of celebrating the people who the women who are.
Just one. Maya Angelou.
Okay. And what about her?
So a much younger Samenua met Maya Angelou, and it was in a restaurant. It was an event. It was a gathering in some posh restaurant. And I am not a person that is cowed by people. That's just not part of me, because, you know, we're all here doing our thing. She's Maya Angelou. And I can't remember what it was that I said to her. And she looked at me like, oh, dear child, bless you. You can say black. I have no idea what I actually said. Like, honestly. But I clearly tied myself in some convoluted knot of words of nonsense, right? And she just said, you can say black. And it wasn't patronizing at all. And at that time, because we hadn't yet sat down for the meal, but hors d'oeuvres were going around, and somebody came by with a tray of stuff, and she just looked at them and she said, I prefer to drink my calories. And I was just like, but there was something about, and she knew me from Adam, but there was something about her kindness, which, like I said, was not patronizing. She could tell I was just like a fool. And she also touched me And I'm autistic. I'm an autistic woman, and I'm not necessarily comfortable with the touch. Yeah, the uninvited touch is not a thing for me. Yeah, but she touched me, and it was a reassuring touch. It was like, "You are not an idiot. It's okay." Yeah, touch. And there was something about her that was just glorious and present and generous.
Mm.
And everybody in the room wanted to talk to this woman. And here she was touching me, talking to the person, da, 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 kind of comforting me because she could tell I felt like a fool. And she just, yeah, she was properly there. And I just loved that. And also she has written so many poems, and I won't quote them or try to, but one of the essences of her poetry is that sense of you're responding to me even though you don't realize you're responding to me. And I am so much more than you can imagine. And I'm okay with that, whether you are or you're not. And that is a sense that I get from so many of her poems. And when I first read them, I was like, oh, oh, my first stepmother gave me a book of her poetry. But now I feel like I'm closer to that space. So yeah.
Mm. And I'm going to come back to some of what it feels like you're touching on. This, we're different people at different times, or we move through. Um, there's a question about seasons and life seasons, but I'll get there in a little second. Before I get there, though, who would you say is or are one or two women? So this is a slightly different question. Who have widened the sphere of possibility for who you get to be in the world? Whether or not they're known figures is besides the point here, because you do a lot of things. Right? You do a lot of things, and we could say yes, because of the way I also do quite a number of things. I can look and say, okay, this is the link, these are some of the links that I see, but I don't know what the links are for you and how you get to even know that that kind of existence, that kind of polymathic existence is possible. So are there people who, I don't know, who you looked up to, who opened doors for you in some way, or who widened, I'll just leave it like that, who widened the sphere of possibility for who you get to be in the world?
Yeah. So one was my first stepmother,
Okay.
sadly no longer with us. And she was amazing. She was an African American woman, and she grew up in Florida and California. And she had stories. When I tell you this woman had stories, if I tell you she was the first person cast as Lieutenant Uhuru, and then she was not cast as Lieutenant Uhuru, that's another story, which we won't go into. But it does place her in a very particular place. I'm about 5'5", 5'5.5", 5'6", something like this. I don't know if I've started shrinking yet, but anyway, that's where I am. And she was about 5 foot. She was also a model. And she used to show up for a shoot, and they'd be like, like, because models are usually gazillions, right? Um, and she'd be like, I photographed Hall, right? And she was the one who she gave me the Maya Angelou poetry book. She also gave me Norman Vincent Peale, and I went to drama school in California. And when I came back, people in England were like, "What is wrong with you? Why are you so happy?" Like, yeah, that's not how we roll. Stop it. Yeah. In Pollyanna, you know. And she had given me this book about the power of positive thinking. And she was one of the most optimistic people I have ever known. And she could pull a rainbow out of a pile of poo. She was extraordinary like that. And I was in the worst phase. I was just like, yeah, I'm just heading for a life of failure and unachieved ambitions and all of these things. That's where I was. And she was just, it was her positivity. And she was the
Mm.
first person that said, when somebody is vile to you, love them some more. Love them more. Yeah, love them all. Just, yeah, love is a beautiful thing and use it whenever you can. And yeah, she was amazing, Roz. She was amazing. And yeah. And also, many years ago, I worked for a woman called Decima Francis. And Decima, actually, Decima probably does go into the category of the polymath thing because she's done many things. I know she trained as a homeopath, but she was an actor. I believe she was in Widows back in the day. But then she became a director, theatre director, and did amazing things. Did all, I want to say, an all black Macbeth. I want to say it was at the National Studios, but just amazing things. Sort of, in the 80s, and then she moved into sort of community development work and so forth. And I worked for her in America, in Boston. And when I came back, there were just little things that she said to me. One was when I got my very first proper job, the sort where they actually pay you each month. And she was like, don't go in there like a whirling dervish and distress up everybody. And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? Yeah, I had no idea what she meant. And a few months later, I knew exactly what she meant. And she was warning me about the way people see somebody who is excited and capable in action and and what that can create in them. And she also told me not to credit people with an intelligence they don't possess.
Which is difficult.
She's like, deal with what is there, deal with what is in the room, deal with what somebody says, but more importantly, what they do. But do not credit people for an intelligence they do not possess, because a title, letters after your name, whatever it is, does not actually endow you with intelligence. So do not assume it is there.
Yeah. Very, very wise words.
Oh.
Very wise words, but hard to implement in the sense that I tend to assume, and friends are always telling me, stop assuming people are going to do things like you do them or think like you. I'm like, but it's common sense. Why wouldn't you? But yes,
There's
it's
another
less.
podcast about common sense, because common sense implies that sense is common.
Yes, yes. But there's some things, and again, I'm digressing. There are some things that are so basic or that feel so basic.
To you.
I know, I know.
To you.
Yeah, no, I'll
Yeah.
come back. We'll come back. We'll come back here to me, but I'm like, come on, man. Humanity, come on.
Yeah,
But
well,
yes.
that could be a phrase for the entire year, frankly. Come on now, humanity. Come on. Come on. Yeah, we're at a moment, so come on. Let's get to that next stage.
When in this world that we live in, there's so much conditioning in different ways, but specifically because that's what this podcast is focusing on, as women, as girls, they're the things we are taught, even by people who are good intentioned, and they're the things that we learn. And I make the distinction between what we're taught and what we learn, because there are many things we learn that we aren't necessarily taught, but we imbibe, because that is the water that we live in. And I'm interested in what are some of the things that you were either taught or learned about what it is to be a woman or a girl, which, as you have come into your own as an adult woman, you're like, that is actually not for me, and I have to unlearn that.
Oh. So, there's so many. One is that niceness is the most important thing that you're supposed to have or be. And I think I was an old child, and I think I'm becoming a young old person, maybe a childlike old person, who knows? But I was an old child. So I truly felt that grown-ups were just ridiculous because they just had some behavior that made no sense to me. Right? Um, but it became very clear to me that, and especially because I had dimples, and I spent a lot of time as a child going, "Oh," because I thought only fat people had dimples, and of course, one of
When the rest of us were trying to dig our cheeks to get dimples. Can you imagine?
the
Anyway,
grass
sorry,
is
go ahead.
always green. So, so I'm running around pushing out the cheeks, and but one of the things about having dimples is it imbibes you with a cuteness. Oh, yeah. So it was very interesting. My father was in the hair industry. And his daughter, there's two of us, me and my brother, and his daughter, her hair only grew up in the middle and at the front. It did not grow out at the sides or in the back. So I had a high top before they were cool. And people would be like, oh dear, her hair. But she's got the cute dimples. It was like a consolation for the fact that, for other things. And there was something about cuteness and niceness that I could tell I was supposed to be. And dimples or no dimples, I most definitely did not feel cute. And most of the time I was not feeling nice. And I also was taught that I was supposed to be available. And I'm a stone cold introvert. Always have been. So the party is happening downstairs and there's noise and there's dominoes and there's all of these things. And this is such a sense memory from my childhood. And I am upstairs on the pile of coats with a book or just with myself and the coats. And I'm fine with that. Where is she? Come down here. You need to be, you need to be, you did. So I was taught that I needed to be present. It's my job to be present. It's my job to be social. It's my job to be nice. And I was like, oh, flesh it dimples. Oof. And as I grew up, I was like, yeah, letting some of that go. A lot of that go. It's fine for me to be on my own, in my space, in my head. I like being in my head. In my head is interesting. And, I'm fine with that. Yeah. I was one of those people for who lockdown was like. And it was only in the that I realized that I was still doing more being present than I was necessarily comfortable with. But I have unlearned a lot of it. Yeah. A lot of that and a lot of the need to be nice. Doesn't mean I'm horrible, but I don't go out of my way in a way that I think I tried to when I was younger to be nice. People who know me know that to be true.
Which also puts not a different flavor, but it also elaborates what your stepmom told you in a particular way. Because when you say if people are vile to you, love them more, somebody might take that as just keep being nice. Whereas what we're saying right now feels almost like the opposite of what you said before when you said, show up as yourself, but do no harm. And this feels like love them more, but accept no harm for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are still learning, and there's somebody very close to me who not close to me, but been in my life a very long time, not through my choice, who I've decided to remove from my life. And I remember I was like, oh, yeah. It was as if I had to keep replaying all the awfulness to justify me removing myself from them. The lovely Carol said to me, Samenua, you don't have to be angry. You just don't be there.
Yeah.
Really? Really? Of course. Ding. Yeah. Doesn't matter what you know. You have to keep reminding yourself of what you know.
Yeah. And that is a difficult thing, but in some ways it's a freeing thing that you have to accept will be difficult in the sense that you have to go because you're not choosing to be here in a way that is supportive. But I love you, and I'm not going to lie to myself that I don't love you if that is the instance in friendship or whatever it is.
No, I most definitely do not love this person. However, they have been in my life for a long time via somebody who I love deeply. So, and that person is no longer here, and therefore, do I need to be in that other person's life? No.
Because the connection is broken. Yeah. Yeah. Which hopefully is an easier one than the things that I'm thinking about, which are people who are connected directly, but for whatever reason aren't there or need to not be there anymore. And it's kind of like I can check on you every now and again because something in me wants to. But once I've
Exactly.
checked,
That's enough.
that's enough.
That's
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
loving people is important, but loving yourself is more important. So it is, it's like it's fine for me to love you. But if loving you does me harm, then it's important for me to remove myself because I need to love me more. And that is important. That is important. And I most definitely had to learn that.
Yeah. So coming now back to the question I said I was going to come to, which is a lot of times, I'll speak personally, I feel like there was a point in my life where I was looking back and being like, oh, shoot, that was the season of my life where I first fully came into who I am. Now, of course, those seasons keep happening and growth keeps changing as we go on, but in a way that I could look back and be like, I think that was when quote unquote womanhood or stepping into your power started, which then makes recognition of all the other seasons when that is happening easier to spot later on down the line. And it was a confluence of things, something to do with a particular job I was with, something to do with certain relationships I was in, where I had to stand up and I had to make choices. And I didn't know that that was what was happening at the time. It was just looking back. I'm like, oh, you became something else after that. And whatever that thing was is the foundation for everything else you're becoming later on. And just bearing that in mind, I normally ask him what season or seasons would you say you stepped into your womanhood or into your power as a woman, and maybe what was happening in some of those moments.
Mm. Absolutely. It was my 30s. I was in my 30s and I had done one of the many programs that exist to try and deal with the fact that we were underrepresented in certain areas in the cultural world, in leadership, blah, blah, blah. I'd done this program and I couldn't get a job after the program. And then I did get a job. Somebody's paying me every month to do things I want to do. I have arrived. And it was wretched.
Oh,
Yeah, it was wretched.
as in the
And it,
people or the job itself, or both?
no, the people. And not all the people. So my actual line manager was fantastic. But my colleagues were like, who are you and what are you doing and why are you here? And whew, yeah, it was challenging. And I remember I was doing an event. And I don't know if you've ever felt this, but I was arriving at work with like dread in me, dread. And I was crossing a road. And as I crossed the road, I grew wings. Now, this is where I risk, this is where I imbue myself with reputational risk because I grew wings. And there were people on my right and there were people on my left. And they basically said, we've got you. And when I got to the other side of the road, I was like, okay, I can do this. And I didn't know these people. And it was the most extraordinary thing. One of the most extraordinary things that's ever happened to me. And they were not all African. There was a Chinese man at the end of the left wing. And they literally just walked across the road with me. Um, and the dread went, and I was fine. But I left the job. I left the job and I had a mortgage to pay and no other income. And I left the job and I sat down in my house and meditated. And for a long time, I don't mean like one day, days and days and days. And then I got another job which was double the money of the job that I left. And yeah, and I knew I was in another stage of me.
Yeah. And in terms of knowing, okay, I can deal with this. I've got to go. Even though I have nothing, I'm going to. Has that helped later in life when you've been in other situations where you're like, I gotta go?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there is a sense of walk you will be held.
Mm.
And I don't know if that was the wings. I don't know if it was the fact that I was growing in my own confidence in myself. I don't know what that was, but there was a sense of do right for you. Yeah, you can't stay in a place where people behave like this towards you. You just cannot. It's not okay. It's not okay. Leave. Just leave.
And in the immediate aftermath of what feels like some kind of a supernatural thing, how did you deal with that?
Now here's the thing, right? I'm not gonna lie. I was completely and totally freaked out. I was like, I was not. I was brought up Christian Methodist, right? It is not known to be the most outgoing of forms of Christianity. There is a politeness about Methodist Christianity. Yes, everybody's just it's lovely. Yeah, I had no context for this. Yes, and yeah, the closest I could get to a sense of this is Doppy. Yeah, so yeah, I was not ready. I was like, but I also knew it had happened. I couldn't pretend it hadn't. So I was just like, Ede, you're losing your mind, but it is in the morning. You've drank no alcohol. You've done no drugs. Like, what was that? So I was completely freaked out. I was not remotely like, oh, okay. But I also could not deny that I felt completely different and I felt held and I felt better.
Mm-hmm.
So I was freaked out and reassured. But that's my life. So
No, but I get that. Although I guess I feel like I've had a couple, not wings, but but I have had a couple of instances where, sometimes I've at least once that I can remember there was something I really wanted. All my life was gearing towards one of those things. And I went to bed and woke up and there was some dream that I can't remember, although I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere that I can't find. And it was big. I felt like God was taking this thing from me. Like, it's okay. You don't need it. And I woke up and this thing that I had been interviewing for every summer for, by that stage, maybe 6 years. I woke up and I was like, okay, we're gonna stop. And it didn't feel like I would miss it. And then the weirdness, because when the next summer came, I was like, but why would I? Like, I'm getting interviews. I don't feel like doing it. It's a stress doing it. But I still applied that next year. And then I was like, why are you, why are you doing this? Because now you don't even feel like doing it anymore. And you're forcing yourself because you feel like it's something you have to do. And that was a weird one for me because I'm like, it was not a case of I decided to stop. It got taken from me and I could almost like I could feel it being taken from me and there was nothing that I could or wanted to do about it. Really, it was just like it's time for the next thing.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get shoved. That was in my 20s.
Mm.
And someone bumps into you and you're like, which way you going? Kind of thing. Like, oh, there's no one there.
Feel like this too is another podcast.
Next question.
um What does it mean for you to be at rest?
The reason you got a very big sigh there is because not very good at it,
Mm-hmm.
not very good at resting. So I think earlier I said something about I enjoy being in my own head.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do. It's active. Um, it's not great at rest. Um, it's not great at rest. And when I think about rest, I think about what does it take for me to stop? So to stop being active. And yeah, might have to come back to that one.
Okay. Um, what scares you?
That we won't have the bravery to fight back against where we are right now and get to the next stage. That scares me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That scares me.
That is a big one.
But um my ex's mom used to say she don't fear anything but mankind. And that I think that's where we are.
Mm.
Um and it does feel like a lot of people I hear the word course correct, sometimes use it myself. Um we know so much that we don't put into action. We understand our brains. We understand motivated reasoning. We understand confirmation bias. We want to believe what we want to believe. We want to do what we want to do. The idea that we are logical beings is hilarious, frankly.
Yes, we move on emotion and whatever we've chosen to believe in the moment. Yes.
Yeah, I think we need to even question the notion of civility because, frankly,
No, but
um,
I think that that is something that should always have been questioned,
mm,
especially because the supposed lords of civility brought something the opposite of civility and then
the
sold the
most
story of civility.
brutal,
Mm.
yes, um, a barbarity and brutality that is still not acknowledged.
Yeah.
So that is what I fear. That is what I fear. I look at, we all have littles around you. Yes, my niece is not yet 3. Cousin's just got twins. Oh, the little bubbas, they're not yet 1. They're just, oh, and all the munch kids and the Cleos, little Cleo. And I just look at all the bubbas and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we giving these little bubbas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like what life, what
Look,
is the life that we're preparing for them to
are we
step into?
really? I'm not anti-technology. I'm building a digital museum. Technology is extraordinary. Find in its ability to help us to allow us to live longer, healthier lives. Because a longer life without your health, but there's so many things that technology can absolutely do in terms of supporting, illness, people with living with disability,
Mhm.
allowing you freedom of space to do certain things. There's so many things that it can do for us. But the idea that we are going to outsource our thinking is so
Dangerous.
horrific. At the same time, when we are pumping billions of research money into understanding dementia and Alzheimer's, at the same time that our understanding of the brain explains to us the importance of using it and using it in certain ways, we are actively, aggressively looking to outsource its capabilities.
And I can't remember which of those tech billionaires was speaking. You must have seen it a few weeks ago. I don't know if it was new, but they were talking about getting to a point where knowledge is where you're paying for knowledge in the same way as we pay for water and electricity and bills. And I'm like, so you're gonna dumb down the populace
Dumb them down even more.
and then dumb them down even more, and then you get to decide what you give to them because now they have no reference point against which to critique whatever it is that they're getting. And critical thinking is already so low for so many people. It's like it's scary. Yeah, that is scary.
So you asked me what I fear, and that is it. It absolutely is it. And that we are going to trash the environment to do this is just another level of extraordinary foolishness that is mind-numbing. And I think the thing that fears me is we feel so disempowered.
Yeah.
And that sense that we have no ability to change this, like there's an inevitability about this, that concerns me. Our own lack of agency and the acceptance of that lack of agency, and that sense of, well, what can I do? Is here.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere,
Yeah.
you know? And it is that that is scary, because unless we feel able to look at this person telling us that at some point we don't want it. We don't want it. But what capitalism and the stage of capitalism that we are in does is it allows people to exploit our human weaknesses and desires. And our desire to know each other and be with each other and communicate with each other has been exploited to the extreme. And they are good parts of ourselves being exploited. And I think the sense that we can't do anything about the progression of our society's plural is the thing that scares me the most.
Yeah. In that, because that is a summary picture for the problem of the whole world. So how do you cultivate hope?
Show up. Show up, do what you're good at. I think showing up is not always easy or straightforward because we're all different. But if you have any degree of sensitivity right now, you know we're in a moment. Yeah. So the showing up, not straightforward. So that's, if you can, that's great. If you can find a way to do what you love, that helps. But the thing that really helps, I think, is seeing other people, and random acts of kindness. And I do not mean ones that are filmed and shared. I mean ones that are just spontaneous because you know you can. Yeah, it does not need to be a big deal. It could just be noticing somebody's perfume, earrings, whatever, and deciding to say, oh, those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Or it does not have to be big. I had some fraud on my account and I had no cards recently, and I was back in cash world, which I haven't been for a while. I always keep cash. I think it's important that we have that monetary means of exchange. But I went to the supermarket and I bought a few things, and it was good for me to have to think about what I was buying, what it was going to cost, and did I have enough physical money in my purse to pay for it? And I went to the till that only takes cards and went, duh, you don't have one. Went to the cash and card one, paid for my things, came out, and there was somebody, saying, you got any change, you got any money kind of thing. And I think I said some autopilot thing, yeah, like, sorry, or something like that. And as I walked away, I thought, what are you doing? Not only do you have cash on you right now, but come on. So I went back and I scooped up or whatever, I don't know what change it was. And because he had actually asked for an amount, that was it. He had asked for an amount. Anyway, when I scooped up the money, it was like about 50p more than he had asked for. Nothing, he just little money, little. And I gave it to him and I said, I'm not sure. That was it. I wasn't sure if it was what he was asking for. As I walked away, he said, it is. Yeah, it was nothing. It was nothing. It was nothing. And I'm not saying this to aggrandize myself. I'm saying it because it was nothing. And it made his day. And so it does not have to be big. does not have to be big. You don't have to have. There's evidence somewhere that refugees, people from global majorities, and so forth, we give. And I think we give because we know what it is not to have.
Mm-hmm.
And these things are not talked about, but I think little micro levels, making somebody else feel good makes you feel good. And our society has been geared towards us needing good to be good. So if you can reorientate yourself to do good, to feel good, which is actually how our psychology works, we get more when we give than we do when we get. But we have been programmed to believe that we get more when we receive. It's actually not true. And psychologists have proved it again and again and again. We get more when we give. We feel good when we give. It sets off the dopamine, the oxytocin, all of that stuff. We feel good when we give. So if you feel rubbish, give. Whatever you have. Doesn't have to be big. Doesn't have to be money. It can be anything. And it will help the flow. You know, if you're in a really bad place and a friend phones you up and they're in a worse place and you're like, hey, let me just listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you feel bad because you want to try to cheer them up. And you feel better for cheering them up, even if you feel crap.
Yeah. There's something about the exchange of just being there. Yeah.
We feel good when we do good. Nicotine.
Hmm. You mentioned Digital Archive Museum of Color before. Talk me through exactly what it is, your vision for what you're doing there.
So we're definitely not an archive. So I am not an archivist. We are not an archive. And the reason I say that, and it's important that I say that, is because what we do is we curate exhibitions by art form for one part of what we do, where we look at how people have contributed to and influenced in that art form over the course of 250 years, because we started 1766 and we go to 2016. And it was important to me because yes, the Windrush was important, but yeah, it's becoming like I
Like
have a
it's the
dream.
only thing. Yeah.
We've been here for centuries. We've been here for centuries. And so it is a desire to look at the narrative for a longer stretch. We were absolutely here before 1766, but we're starting with Sancho. And so what we do is we select a number of individuals who have achieved in that area. And when we look at achievement, it is not necessarily just in terms of public recognition or monetary or anything like that. It could be about groundbreaking ways of doing whatever they did, whether it was publishing or dancing or choreographing or whatever, but also we then give the societal context in which they've done it. So we share the narrative of the time between the individuals so we understand the time at which they were creating, dancing, choreographing, writing, whatever. And that's how we shape our exhibitions. And then we do another form of exhibition, which is where we work with contemporary artists to explore British history. And I think there is a power and importance in that response work, where we look at things and we ask artists to say, I'm going to take my practice and respond to this. And I think it provides a thoughtful way and an accessible way into sometimes, but not always, difficult histories. So that's what we do. So we're definitely not an archive. And the reason it's important for me to say that is because there are so many more extraordinary artists than we're ever able to put in an exhibition.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hear you on the distinction, but whilst you might not be an archive officially, in that sense, you are archiving information in the way that you just described. Because in however many years from now, whatever it is that you're doing is what some young person is going to look at that will lead them to go and look for these people. In the same way as keeping, I don't know, a flyer from a play I may have produced in 2016 is doing archiving work, because somebody needs to know that there were Black people doing plays and that this person existed, even if they were not known in wherever they are. Or this conversation in many ways is an archive, or the series of them becomes an archive for Black women from around the world who are doing extraordinary things in their own right, and who are speaking in their own voices and being heard in their own voices, so that somebody else is not telling our stories. So I use it in that
Point made.
sense.
Point well made. I think it's because, do I still have some imposter syndrome? Yeah, probably. But also because I think of archiving as having a kind of thoroughness
Mhm.
that I would love, but no, we can't do for an exhibition when we want to do the sort of work that we want to do. I think that's what it is. But I think what you're talking about is absolutely true. And one of the things that, because I think every good museum needs a shop. So we're most definitely going to have a shop. But also, we always hire researchers at the start of an exhibition to do some excavation for us. And repeatedly, I hear how difficult it is sometimes to actually just find the source material that we use to do the curatorial work of the exhibitions. And so it is very important for me that the research that sits behind our exhibitions becomes publicly available. And that will absolutely be another resource. Now, not everybody is going to want that. So I think for some, the portrait, the oral history, so the podcasts and the interviews and so forth, and looking at the collections of donated photograph donations, that will be, the space that is enjoyed. But for others who want to do a bit of a deep dive, I think it is important that that material is also accessible, most of which I'm pretty sure is publicly paid for. So we're not there yet,
Yeah,
but that's somewhere that I want to
part
get
of
to.
this one. Yeah.
Mhm.
What does sisterhood mean to you?
Sisterhood is saying, I see you, I sense you have walked this path. As a sister, your path may be different to my path, but there will be some similarities. There will be some things that were expected of us. There will be commonality in some way. And for me, that is what holds sisterhood. Because we grow up as girls into young women, into women, and we live in a world that is shaped by men. And we can be different. We can be different races, ages, political affiliations. But there is no denying the fact that we've all grown up in a world shaped by men, and we will respond to that differently. However, I do believe that the commonality of sisterhood is knowing what it is to grow up in a world that is shaped by men. And yeah, so for me, that is what sisterhood is.
I've got two questions left. One is, do you ever think about legacy? And if so, what do you want yours to be?
So I do think about legacy for Museum of Colour all the time. I don't want there to be a legacy for Museum of Colour. I want and expect it to exist when I no longer do. That's hugely important to me. That there is a Museum of Colour when there is no Samenua Sesher. I don't think of personal legacy. I don't think of that. I do think of the grain of sand stuff. There's a lot of us. Yeah. You show up, you do your best for as many people as you possibly can, and you're gone. So if something that I do creates legacy, that's okay, but I don't feel like I need one.
Yeah. My last question is, what brings you joy?
Do I have to just give one?
No?
Okay. So 5-set tennis match between two extraordinary players. Oh, that gives me joy. That gives me joy. Because the Grand Slams only have best of fives now. I mean, the women don't play best of fives; they play best of three. So for the women, a good 3-set match. For the men, a good 5-set match. Oh, yeah, with a tie break at the end, because you really can't divide them. It's so close. That is the joy. Um, Bill Withers' "Lovely Day," probably one of my favorite songs, and my whole spirit lifts when I hear the first chords of it. But music more broadly. I can absolutely live without a screen, but I cannot live without music. So music is joyful for me. Tennis, music, walking. I love walking. I love walking. My feet are sore right now, and I'm really unnerved. Um, but I love walking. Walking, sometimes with music, sometimes not, sometimes with friends, sometimes on my own. I love walking. And my brain is clearer when I'm in motion.
Mhm.
And things come to me, things clear up, ideas arrive, paths open, and I breathe differently in the outdoors. So yeah, walking, music. Tennis is the only thing that doesn't make me think about work.
You
So
play as well, right?
oh, I used to play so badly. My brother was a coach at one point. No, was he a coach? Anyway, my brother was a fantastic tennis player. Probably is still a fantastic player, but I don't think he plays as much. And he was going to coach me. And he belonged to the tennis club opposite where we lived, and I was there, showed up, I was like, I was ready, and I would hit a great shot, and then people started to watch because Serena, and then I would just like miss the ball, like completely miss the ball, like just miss the ball. Right, my brother was like, "I'm not coaching you ever again." Yeah, I'm never ever coaching you again. Yeah. I brought him shame. So no, I definitely do not play tennis. I watch it. I play it in my head.
I'm sure you play it in your head better than I do.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
This
Love it.
has been an absolutely delightful conversation, and I'm sure we could speak for a whole lot longer about so many other things, because we already took several tangents before the actual conversation started.
I'm known for them. Out of our tangents.
But yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning. Um let me read the outro. Good people.
No,
Oh, sorry. You're gonna respond.
I guess. Response important. I want to thank you for asking me the kind of questions that allow me to think about things that are not on the to-do list. Yeah.
Mm,
Don't always get to do that. The to-do list is long, yeah, and it's not just work, it's the personal admin. And so you've allowed me to not think about the to-do list for a while, and that feels great. So thank you.
cute. I like that phrasing as well because yes, the to-do list is long. But yeah, I like that sitting in these conversations sometimes, most of the time, bring me joy as well because it takes me to new places. And it allows me to laugh whilst also talking about very serious things, which affect all our lives. So yeah. And I think something you said earlier, I wrote it down. Walk, you will be held. I think I normally try and think about, okay, what is my takeaway? So that is probably it for this one, although there are many things. Good people, thank you for rocking with us on another episode of Unlearning Strong Women. So many things to dig into and take away from here. But if I could choose one, it's walk, you will be held. I don't know where you are or what it is that you're going through, but hold on to that. And if you need it, walk. We will be back with a new episode at the end of the month. In the meantime, subscribe, share, let me know your thoughts. You'll find me on Instagram at Tolu Agbelusi. Spellings and details appear in the show notes. Oh yes, I always forget this. Locating Strong Women is my poetry collection. If you do not have a copy, buy one. Until next time. This is Tolu and Samenua Sesher.
Bye. Buy her poetry.